The Red Raiders look to start Big 12 play 2-0, but standing in their way is, well, another team looking to go 2-0 in conference play, the Cincinnati Bearcats. And in today's video, we'll preview this matchup, including the latest injury report for your Red Raiders, the odds, and prediction. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. And listen, if you know anything about this podcast by now, we're interactive here. Also, the largest Texas Tech independently owned podcast channel as well. But speaking of the interactive part, I want to hear from you guys. Let me know down in the pinned comment below your score prediction for Cincinnati at Texas Tech under the lights of Jones AT&T Stadium on Saturday night. Let me know your score prediction down on the pinned comment below, and I'll let you know mine here in just a little bit. All right. Looking at this game, let's set the scene. I mentioned this will be out in the 8:06 between Cincinnati and Texas Tech. It will take place at 7 p.m. Central Time on ESPN2. Now, the history between Texas Tech and Cincinnati, well, there's only one game, and technically they're still trying to figure out who's going to get the first W because it's very interesting, the history between these two. Texas Tech and Cincinnati will meet on the gridiron on Saturday night for only the second time in their program's, well, history. The first matchup ended in a 10-10 tie in 1968. So technically, there hasn't been a winner in this matchup. That will obviously change on Saturday night. Now, the Texas Tech injury report is as followed. Out for the Cincinnati game is DB Javion Wilcox. He is yet to play this season due to a knee injury. Now, there is a laundry list of questionables and some big-time names on this list. So hunker down. Here we go. We've got outside linebacker Charles Esters with a thigh injury. He now is questionable after being ruled out the 4 previous games this year for the Red Raiders. Texas Tech definitely could use some extra linemen on that interior and, well, exterior, that defensive line front for Texas Tech. Now, the defensive line inside to Braylon Carroll is listed with a leg injury. Jordan Brown, the wide receiver for the Red Raiders, is listed as questionable with the shoulder injury. DB Braylon Lux, a guy we will be talking about a little bit more later on in the video, is listed as questionable with a thigh. He missed the last game against Arizona State. You had Macho Stevenson starting in his place, opposite of Mo Horn. It would be pivotal for the Red Raiders to have a guy like Braylon Lux back against the Cincinnati passing attack. Now, speaking of passing attack, Josh Kelly is listed as questionable with an ankle injury, the Red Raiders star wide receiver. He's also damn near 10 in every category you can be as a wide receiver in the Big 12. He is listed with an ankle injury, as I mentioned. One of the best linebackers in the Big 12, and Ben Roberts, is listed as questionable with a shoulder injury. And then another edge rusher for Texas Tech, listed as an outside linebacker, Amir Washington, has a hip issue. Now, when it comes to players to watch for Texas Tech in this one, I'm going to start just like I always do with Behren Morton. If Behren Morton can just limit the turnovers and really the bad throws, just like he did against Arizona State. Was he sensational against Arizona State? No, he was not. But was he good enough to put the offense in the proper position to succeed and not make mistakes? Absolutely. And sometimes that's just the name of the game with the Texas Tech run game. That's all Behren Morton has to do, is just not make mistakes. Don't try and overdo it, right? Trust the process and use that star that you have in the backfield alongside of you in Taj Brooks. And speaking of Taj Brooks, he's the next guy you need to know about, because Cincinnati has one of the better interior defensive linemen in the country. And we'll talk about him a little bit more here in just a second. But Taj Brooks, getting him incorporated in the game early is pivotal for Texas Tech because it opens up the play action pass and the RPO game. And when Texas Tech uses that, they have proven to be a really good offense. Just look at the last 2 weeks. Now, some people will say, RC, the offense really wasn't that good against Arizona State after they got up 14-0. If you go back and look at what Texas Tech did, you could tell that the game plan was really to slow things down against Arizona State after they got that 14-0 lead. Why? Well, because Arizona State and their pace of play really isn't that good. They're more of a grinded out team, and they knew, Texas Tech did, once they got a 2-possession lead, they had a good chance to really dictate things from there, and that's what they did. That was part of the game plan. So I think Texas Tech goes back to the up-tempo, at least early on against Cincinnati, and then you'll see maybe another game plan evolve from there. But as we all know, this offense starts and ends with Taj Brooks in terms of everybody else kind of falling into place. Now, The guy I want to talk about from the Texas Tech side on the defensive side is Braylon Lux. And listen, he's questionable in this game. As I mentioned, he missed the Arizona State game, but you need a guy like him in terms of his experience and also just the impact he makes in that secondary in terms of he's not quite a lockdown corner, but he's a pretty damn good one. Okay. And so you're going to need him against the Cincinnati passing attack that does not make mistakes. But if you have a guy like Braylon Lux back there, he is proven to make life difficult for opposing quarterbacks. And when he is out there, he also creates some turnovers sometimes, i.e. that pick six that he had against Chandler Morris in the UNT Mean Green. So those are the three guys I'm watching for Texas Tech in this one. Now, switching over to Cincinnati, before we get in there, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell to stay in the know on all things Texas Tech football and men's basketball. We're only about 50-ish days away, less than 50 days away from tip-off for Texas Tech men's basketball, and we'll have plenty of coverage right here on a 100% free and the most engaging Texas Tech community on YouTube. And oh, by the way, over 10,000 subscribers strong. Be a part of the Back to 12 squad, and all you got to do is simply like the video and hit that subscribe button. All right. The players I'm watching for Cincinnati. We'll start on offense. There's a trio of offensive players that I want to discuss, and then that defensive lineman that I mentioned a little bit earlier. But let's start with Brendan Sorsby, a Texas kid, actually from Denton. He's returning home, and well, so far for Cincinnati as their starter, he's been pretty great in all honesty in terms of what they are trying to do up there in Ohio. Now, he's got 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He is a guy that's really not going to run the football too much, but he's also a guy that's not going to make mistakes. He's that kind of quarterback. Is he going to wow you? No. Is he going to get his guys in the proper position to succeed and make sure that, well, he doesn't put the defense behind the 8 ball? Yeah, so far that's what he's done. Now I think Texas Tech will be arguably his biggest test so far because their first conference game was against Houston. And if y'all watch Houston play football this year, I apologize. Call me out if you want, Houston fans. I don't really care. They're just not very good right now. But he's that kind of guy in terms of he's not going to wow you, but he's going to make the right decision 99 times out of 100. Can Texas Tech really get pressure on him in his face and make sure that, hey, like, can you make life difficult for him? Can you make him move out? Can you make him try and move on the run? It's a very, very different story in terms of what Texas Tech has had to do the past, well, really 3 weeks, all the way dating back to Washington State. If they can make Sorsby uncomfortable in the pocket, their chances of winning the Red Raiders, chances just Dogecoin to the moon. You know how that goes on this channel. All right, Corey Kiner is the running back. He's the 6th leading rusher in the Big 12, just ahead of Taj Brooks, albeit one more game under Kiner's belt this season compared to Taj. Now, Kiner is a physical runner. He's 5'9", around 200 pounds. And like I said, 5'9", shorter frame. He's a bowling ball back there, okay? But he's also got some home run hitting type ability in terms of he could take one to the house from 70 yards. The thing is, Texas Tech is going to keep him from, well, what defenses are trying to do to Taj in the sense of reversing course, right? You have him blocked really, really well, and then Taj being Taj, he figures out a way to bounce it out to the outside and really make good things happen. Kiner has a similar skill set, albeit not as proven as Taj, but that's going to be one thing that Texas Tech is really going to have to hamper on this week in practice is being physical at the point of attack, making sure you're sure tackle, and really cutting off that back edge in terms of a potential counter in the run game for Cincinnati. Now, when it comes to the passing game, it's Xavier Henderson, the name you need to know for the Bearcats. He leads the way with 25 catches, about 325 yards, 326 to be exact, and 3 TDs. He is a long-rangey wide receiver at 6'3", and he creates mismatches and absolute problems on the outside for opposing defenses. That's why Braylon Lux is so important. That's going to be one of the matchups to watch. Not quite the matchup to watch in this one, but if Braylon Lux can play in this one, how impactful can he be against Xavier Henderson? And if he doesn't go Braylon Lux, that is, do you have Macho Stevenson or someone else on the outside guarding that length and really the potential issues that Henderson presents on the outside? All right. Switching on over to the defensive side, arguably the best defensive lineman in the Big 12. That is not me trying to boost this guy up or anything. It's just the truth. And one of the better stories, too, he had a couple of health issues before the season started. He is back 100% healthy, and he is an absolute problem and someone that the Red Raider offensive line is going to have to know where he is at all times. It is Dante Corleone, and he's a guy that was All-American preseason and preseason All-Big 12 as well. He dictates the line of scrimmage when he is in the game almost better than anyone in this conference. Okay, he is a guy that, as I mentioned, you're going to have to know where he is at all times if you are the interior of that Texas Tech offensive line. So looking at you, Caleb Rogers, Sheridan Wilson, and Davion Carter. But that doesn't stop there. You're still going to have potential issues on the outside because if you double team there, well, it makes life easier for the edge rushers on the outside. He is a guy you need to know where he is at all times if you were Texas Tech and also a Red Raider fan. All right, must-watch matchup in this one for me. I mentioned Sorsby. One of the things you have to do is get pressure on him and try and make him uncomfortable, okay? That's the must-watch matchup for me in this one is the Texas Tech defensive line against the Cincinnati offensive line. Can the Red Raiders get pressure and actually finish when it comes to sacking the quarterback in this one? So far, they really haven't done that in terms of getting the quarterback on the ground and getting a sack, right? They've done a solid job of QB hurries, QB pressures, but not quite finishing the job. Can they do so against Brendan Sorsby? If they can, again, to the moon for Texas Tech and their chances to win this football game. When it comes to the odds for Texas Tech and Cincinnati, the Red Raiders actually opened up as 7.5-point favorites according to FanDuel. That line is now down to Texas Tech -4. So the Red Raiders are still favorites in this one. The total over-under is set at 58.5. And I've got the Red Raiders winning this one under the lights of Jones AT&T 37-28. That's going to do it for your preview and everything you need to know for this matchup between the Cincinnati Bearcats and your Texas Tech Red Raiders, the Travis Kelce versus Patrick Mahomes Bowl, if you will. I hope you stay tuned for all 12 minutes to get that one. And while you're here, you might as well let me know your score prediction down on the pinned comment below. You heard mine. I've got Texas Tech winning 37-28 under the lights of Jones AT&T on Saturday night. Let me know your score prediction down below. And if you haven't already, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell to stay in the know on all things Texas Tech football and men's basketball all year long right here on the largest and most interactive Texas Tech YouTube channel. And the best part about it, it's 100% free. And, well, I'm just going to shoot you straight. It's 100% authentic. I'm right there with you guys on a lot of these takes, all right? So if you want to join the Back to 12 squad, once again, all you got to do is simply like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell.